We're about news, commentary, conversations, truth, liberty, and God. We stand for American values and our flag. We believe that the Constitution is a document that fortifies rights already given to us by our Creator. We will not apologize for our love of God and country, ever. We are Right America Media.
Welcome back to Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast. As usual, we're going to have an absolutely fire episode for you today. But before we get into today's episode and who we're going to have on as guests today, I want you to click, share, subscribe, go to ramtv.com, get all the notifications, follow us, watch the old episodes, share it with your friends, share it with everybody, become a part of the Ram TV family. All right? And today in studio, I'm going to have Mike and Andy from Citizens Doge, along with, in the second segment, we're going to have Kenneth Abramowitz to talk about Iran doubling down on their insistence on getting on, nuclear enrichment and trying to take us to task. Don't worry, we're not going to attack Israel yet.
Yes.
Because in their statement, they already said that they're still open for another round of beef with Israel, but they're not trying to enrich nuclear weapons. So that's the thing. And on our final segment, we're going to have on Bill Walton, the Common Sense CEO, to discuss U.S. and China officials meeting in Sweden to discuss a truce, trade truce and all that. So hopefully we're going to have better economic news on the other side of this episode, and maybe we can assuage some of your anxiety over international affairs. But like I said, in studio with me, I have Mike and Andy to give us the Doge report from Citizens Doge here in New Hampshire. Hey, how's it going, guys?
It's going great. Good to be back.
What you got for an update this week?
Well, it's certainly the international affairs scene is always anxiety-inducing, so we hope to give a good pivot on the domestic front and the local front especially. This week's show, we have a full spate of sponsors this week. It is sponsored by, as always, the Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast.
Woo, woo.
And as is consistently now, Loveland Realty, 7K Metals, and a new sponsor, Red Tide Strategies. Loveland Realty is a Patriot-owned real estate firm that cares about its clients and takes care of them. If you're in the market for a new residence and you want to work with someone who shares your values, please reach out to David or visit the Loveland Realty offices on Foundry Street in Concord. 7K Metals is a precious metals retailer out of Idaho Falls, Idaho. We all know that when the dollar dies, gold survives, and that when inflation hits, every single paycheck buys less. Precious metals allows patriots to fight back, and 7K Metals is offering the ability to add precious metals to your portfolio in a way that is secure, simple, and sovereign. While they devalue your money, you protect your wealth with real assets. Whenever the notion strikes, you can visit 7kmetals.com/citizensgold for more information. And last but certainly not least, Red Tide Strategies has launched a product to help candidates and races at all levels. In today's political environment, text message is the best way to engage with volunteers, mobilize for door knocking, and promote your events. Red Tide has the ideal text campaign package for individuals and groups looking to get the word out. We have New Hampshire ties and offer competitive pricing in comparison with the big competitors. Please reach out to Michael McElhaney for more details. In our events recap portion, we had a busy spate last week, especially in the second half of the week. Mike and I, it so happens, we ran the check-in table at the Doubletree Hilton in Manchester when South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace came to town. We received a round of thanks from almost everybody else who was either a sponsor of the event or an attendee. Never have... At least I can only speak for myself. I've never been thanked so much for doing so little, but it was much appreciated. And Saturday, the 26th, we had a very busy day for sure. In the morning, Mike and I spoke at the Cheshire County GOP meeting in Keene. We got a great reception. We were very thankful to Ann Farrington, the Cheshire County Republicans chair, for inviting us and having a spirited discussion with some great Q&A with the audience. In the afternoon, also, I had a chance to attend the Liberty Fest event at Londonderry Fish and Game Club in Litchfield. I want to especially thank here Patrick, the Londonderry GOP chair. Forgive me, Patrick, if you're listening. Your last name escapes me, but
I think it's Mills.
Okay, that he was generous enough to have some extra speakers come up at the end of the speaking portion of the event, and one of them was me. So we want to sincerely thank him because we got some extra sign-ups on the sign-up sheet before the event was over, and it was a good event all around and some good food. The pulled pork in particular was delicious. And Sunday, 2 days ago, on the 27th, Mike and I appeared on the Patriot Punk podcast. I think the episode, if I'm not mistaken, was about 2 hours in length.
Oh, yeah.
It was a good conversation, mostly about the many things going on in Tennessee politics, particularly in Nashville. When you have conversations like the ones Mike and I are having, you can really run into just an enormous spate of different fascinating things that are going on with government and taxpayer money at all levels everywhere. So we hope this is another step in aggregating stories about how crazy things are and what we hope that ordinary citizens will do at the local level and the municipal level and the state level to start to address them. But you can look for that episode on Spotify and YouTube. My understanding is it is not up on YouTube yet, but it is on Spotify, and we implore
as Rumble too, maybe?
And Rumble as well. And we implore, as we do with all of the podcasts in which we've appeared so far, please subscribe, like, and share not just our content, but all of the folks who have been generous enough to have Mike and I come on their shows. And lastly, yesterday on the 28th, I was able to attend the Rockingham County GOP meeting in Brentwood. Again, we got a spot to attend the meeting at the very last minute, so we want to thank John of the Rockingham County Republicans for having us in there. I want to give a quick plug for something that we have been discussing at times recently, but I don't have actually an image for. But it's a new program that Mike and I are starting called Doge Voices, which is essentially an ask for people to film themselves on their laptop or their cell phone to report in stories of what they're seeing in their local towns and what they've done if they've gone to a town meeting or a town select meeting or a school board meeting to address or redress something that's happening in their town that is giving them pause or giving them concerns. We invite people to submit their video testimonials, and if they post it to social media, tag at Citizens Doge USA and hashtag Doge Voices. We can spread awareness of what we're seeing far and wide. All we really need to do is take the initiative and to put it out there. So Doge Voices, that's a new line of something that we're contributing to the conversation, hopefully, as we look to spur more local action. In upcoming events, we have recently had the chance to be invited to a Liberty activist meetup tomorrow in Concord, thanks to our friend Leah Cushman, a state rep from the Concord area, I believe, from Ware. Thank you very much. But she's been a good friend to us, and she is also the New Hampshire chair of Young Americans for Liberty, and so will be part of the group that is there tomorrow. On Sunday, August 2nd, we've been invited to the Hillsborough County Machine Gun Shoot, also at the Londonderry Fish and Game Club in Litchfield. I'm sure that should be a rollicking good time, and I was looking forward to that. On Tuesday, August 4th.
Favorite event.
It's great. I bet. I've never been to it, but it just the name alone makes it sound great.
It is
machine gun. Anything with machine gun.
Yeah, biggest machine gun shoot on the East Coast, if I remember correctly. And they've been doing it for, I think this is the 6th year. Or like the 5th or 6th year in a row.
Yeah.
It's big. We've had some major heavy hitters come up to, like, we had Tom Cotton, Byron Donalds. We've had all sorts of congressmen, senators come up.
Yeah. And next Tuesday, August 4th, there's going to be a kickoff event of sorts for Brian Cole at McIntyre Ski Area in Manchester. I believe that's in the evening.
Yep. 6 p.m.
And that's the extent of the details we have on that. But it's going to be a good crowd for Brian. Brian's a good guy. He's been a supporter of ours, and we hope people will go out to that. And that's
for what is he doing?
It's a special event.
It's a special.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I'll just say show up.
And lastly, we have a double dip coming up on Sunday, August 9th. In the morning, there's going to be a Turning Point Action Healthy Americans Coalition kickoff launch event. This is being spurred by a friend of ours, Davis Miller, who is the field director.
I'm actually the chair of that, too. So it's they're launching an initiative. It's a MAHA, New Hampshire MAHA group. So I'm actually the PR guy for the new group. We just launched, and our kickoff party is August 9th.
Okay.
So there's a flyer there. So come out to Prescott Park and learn about what New Hampshire MAHA is doing in New Hampshire.
Nice. I like that.
And just to quickly wrap up that day, we have a table at Belmont Old Homes Day in the evening, so that should certainly wrap up an interesting double dip on Sunday, August 9th. As always, we want to mention to anyone who may not have encountered us before, we are on all the major social media platforms now, including Instagram. Our call sign or our call name on almost all the platforms is just Citizens Doge, with the exception of X, in which it is at Citizens Doge USA. And we encourage people, if they're interested in our merch or anything else, or if they have news item inquiries or anything like that, to drop us a line at citizensdoge.com or citizensdoge@gmail.com. And as always, we want to thank you, Julian, for being our sponsor emeritus.
No problem. I'm looking at the... I totally forgot about the machine gun shoot because it feels like we're doing it later this year than we normally do. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at it for August 2nd. And I'm looking at the sponsors, of course, Hillsborough County Republican Committee, Londonderry Fish and Game, Plastics Techniques, of course,
Who are
Chris
the speakers?
Egger.
Anybody?
Well, the speakers typically are always going to be the main sponsors. So Scott Brown is most likely is going to speak, especially him run for office. I'm absolutely sure they're going to have the candidates speak. So it's like a foregone conclusion. I've never I sponsored it back when I ran, and I got to speak. I think I had like 6-7 minutes or something like that. But here's the problem. Even if you're a great speaker, even if you have the voice, and what we say in the military is you stand up straight, you put your chest out, you use your man voice, right? Not loud, but enough that it cuts through, right? And you're standing up there and go, all right, everybody, I'm going to kick you a hip pocket class today. My name is Julian Acciard. I'm running for New Hampshire's 1st District, blah, 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 blah. And as you start running down things, here in the background is... And you're like, and did y'all even hear what I just said just now? And everyone's like, and I'm like, oh, okay. So it's been like $2,500
in between rounds. You say something.
Yeah. You spent $1,000. You're like, y'all can't hear shit. Okay, so we're just gonna skip over this. Everybody, get out there, shoot some stuff, be safe. Proper trigger discipline. Do not flag the line. You will get punched in the face. No, they do not punch people in the face. Londonderry Fish and Game is very professional. They don't do that. That's a Marine thing. That's a military thing. This is why I don't stand on the line. But so much fun, and I'm so like that's one of those events where, we've always talked about how factional New Hampshire is. Everybody comes out to that event. Doesn't matter whether you're a neocon, a libertarian, whether you're a center of the road, whether you're MAGA, whether you're MAHA, everybody comes out to that, and everybody has a damn good time. I'm glad to see that you guys are getting the invitations to a lot of these events, and that things are ramping up, and that you're getting asked to sponsor and to be a part of these events and be a part of organizing them as well, especially with that Nancy Mace event. I wanted to make it up there to Politics and Eggs, but I was like, I just can't. I have too much stuff going on.
It was a very quick event, I will say. I mean, she was in and out, said a couple words, and see us. It was about say maybe 45 minutes of actual speaking between her and a couple other speakers. So
I think I was seeing pictures of her all over the state. She had like nonstop. They've been really good about making sure that if you get a guest up here, everybody's dipping into that pool. Everybody's getting
a couple fundraisers, couple private events. Oh yeah,
yeah, an event at NHIOP.
Yeah,
Institute of Politics.
Yeah, did you hear? She said she's not planning on running for president, and said it in the exact same tone as everybody who says, "No, I'm not considering running for president at the moment."
At the moment, keyword.
That's why I'm up here doing fundraisers and stuff.
Yeah, traveling the country. Yeah.
That's why I'm in, first of the nation. It's like, no. And you know what? I can't knock it. It's a big deal to get invited for politics and eggs. It's a big deal to get invited for some of the stuff that the NIOP puts on. So that's a quick phone call to anybody in DC, and everyone's like, yeah, sure, yeah. St. Anselm's is famous. Why wouldn't I want to be one of the people who gets invited there? But
absolutely,
the field in 2028 is going to be huge. It is going to be huge.
Yeah.
This is going to be maybe 3-4 candidates that are worth a damn, worth people paying attention to. And then there are going to be probably about 12 of people who are just like, hey guys, I feel like raising a bunch of money.
Yeah.
I have no shot in hell at winning, but I want to make my voice heard so I can get a cabinet position in the next administration, or so I can get a leadership seat in Congress, or so that I can, blow up my war chest a little so I could throw it around DC to get the stuff I want.
For some reason, as you were projecting that forward, I was imagining Jasmine Crockett on the stage, and I started shivering.
No, you know what I imagine when I think about this, about the people running for office, and they really don't have a shot at being president. Like, come on, Doug Burgum was a cool guy. You're not on par with DeSantis or Trump or even Nikki Haley. Like, I'm sorry, nobody even knows where your state is. It's kind of like when I tell people out in California, when I was stationed out there, be like, yeah, I'm from New Hampshire, and they'd be like, where is that?
Yeah.
Is that
what
a
city
state?
is that? Yeah.
And I'd be like, it's a suburb of Boston. It's where all the sane people go. And they're like, Boston? I'm like, Tom Brady? Oh, yeah, Tom Brady. Yeah, we love Tom Brady.
Oh, God.
All right. All right, we had our fun. Next up, just after this quick commercial break, we're going to get back and we're going to talk about the Middle East with Kenneth Abramowitz. I'm going to butcher that name multiple times. Be ready for it. United We Stand, A Marine's Fight. Written by Julian Acciard. I wrote this book to decipher through the tumultuous political dialogue and political gangbanging we see on both sides of the aisle between politicians, activists, influencers, and pundits, and get down to brass tacks solutions in order to save our republic. Again, United We Stand, A Marine's Fight, written by Julian Acciard. You can purchase the book on Amazon, Kindle, and Barnes & Noble.
Would you rather spend time with family and friends in the pool or at the barbecue rather than landscaping your yard? Well, Augusta Lawn Care is here to help you with all of your landscaping needs. Proudly serving southern New Hampshire, we handle everything. Weekly mowing, spring and fall cleanups, bush trimming, mulch installs, lawn treatments, aeration, dethatching, and even snow plowing and salting when the dreaded winter hits. Call Augusta Lawn Care today and let your yard be the best looking yard on the block. Call 603-331-4768. Augusta Lawn Care, locally owned, professionally done. Call 603-331-4678 or visit us online at augustalawncareservices.com/Londonderry. That's augustalawncareservices.com/Londonderry.
This could be the moment we've been waiting for, the chance to feel alive.
Sometimes we forget we live in one of the most beautiful states in the country. This summer, vacation right here and discover your new.
This is where it all begins. This is where it all begins.
No, I'm just messing with you. All right, welcome back to Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast. I'm having fun. I got caffeine. I'm ready to go. We're having a great day. And on with us because, you know, Iran just keeps starting stuff. They have to keep getting at it's like a gnat at a damn barbecue. They just can't leave you alone. And you want to swat them, but every time you go to swat them, you end up smacking your sister with the damn fly swatter. So up next, we have Kenneth Abramowitz to talk about. He's the author of Multi-Front War, Defending America from Political Islam, China, Russia, Pandemics, and Radical Strife. He is, I'm getting tangled up in my cord, people. He is a managing general partner and co-founder of NGN Capital, a worldwide healthcare venture capital fund, and previously the Carlyle Group in New York. He was which he was a managing director. He's going to come on to explain to us, and we got him on the line right now, to explain to us why it is Iran feels the need to double down on getting their butts kicked by Israel and the U.S. How you doing, sir?
Well, very well. It's great to be with you today. So you want me to answer that question? Why do they want their butt kicked?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Because I'm still baffled why they would want more strikes on them.
I'm quoting you. I don't use words like that, but just quoting you. Look. Iran is a product of 1,400 years of Islamic terror. The war with Islamism or political Islam has been going on for 1,400 years. This is just our generation's confrontation of it. So Iran wants to take over the world. In order to take, and they publicly said that, they want to kill everyone in Israel, everyone in America, and then kill all the Christians, all the Hindus, and all the Jews worldwide, and then take over. By the way, every generation, there's a lunatic country that wants to take over the world. Mm-hmm. So 80 years ago, it was the Germans who wanted to take over the world. It was the Japanese who wanted to take over the world. And 100 years ago, the Russians wanted to take over the world. And then the Chinese in 1949 want to take over the world. So it's a common thought of dictatorships, because the dictatorships are afraid of democracies. They're afraid of freedom. They're afraid that the people will rise up and overthrow them. So this is the mess that this generation, our generation, is in. And it'll only end after Iran is defeated, just as Germany and Japan were defeated. And that's what we have to come to grips with.
Honestly, I got to completely agree with you. I've often seen this, and as somebody who fought in Iraq and in the Middle East, and, you know, I look at this and I see, since the Arab Spring and the second rise of the caliphate throughout the Middle East, and one of my biggest issues with deposing some of these dictators that have been overseas, like Saddam, and prior to, and allowing these countries to fall to ISIS or ISIL or the Taliban or Al-Qaeda, is that nature abhors a vacuum. And all we've done is speed up this process by constantly removing somebody that was a bad guy, but a stabilizing force in a region, as opposed to the extremes that end up taking their place. And we came home from Iraq and I watched entire villages that we operated in get wiped out. So what do you think is our best course of action here?
Well, we're now witnessing an extreme. Iran is a Shiite. Muslims are roughly 85% Sunni, 15% Shiite.
Yep.
And they've been fighting over who should replace Muhammad 1,400 years ago. So this is a 1,400-year war within Islam between Sunni and Shia. So you have Qatar and Turkey represent the Sunni version of Islamism or political Islam or jihadism, whichever word you want to use. And that's the Sunni version. And then you have Iran with the Shiite version. And my point would be that all of these Islamism, I call them Islamo-Nazi death cults, have to be confronted because it's like through history, evil stops when it's stopped. It doesn't stop because it gets tired. Someone says, "Oh, I took over 22 countries. I stole all this gold and silver. I'm happy." No, bad guys are never happy. And so they keep going until they're confronted and die. Either die natural causes or someone, good guys, killed them. So that's where we are. And Iran will keep coming back and back and back against America and Israel until someone causes regime change there. And I'm not talking about Iraq regime change or Afghanistan regime change. I'm not talking about boots on the ground regime change. We just have to basically bomb. And by the way, Israel's going to do 96% of the bombing, if not 100% from here. And just keep bombing their economy and their government till the government just falls. And I expect that to happen before the year is over.
There is a large faction within Iran who is radically against their government and has tried to rise up multiple times and has been so far unsuccessful. Is it our best course of action to just arm those people, let them take back their own country, and deal with whatever government they put in?
Well, what I see in the internet or in newspapers is that 80% of the people hate the government, and 20% of the people are basically criminals and like the government because they're stealing money with everybody else. So the question is how to get the 80% to rise up and overthrow the other 20. Now, the trouble is the 20% have all the guns. In the 80%, do not have very many guns. So if right today we encourage the 80% to stand up and rise up, and they'll get killed. So we can't do that just yet. So what America should do is basically say to Israel, we're sorry we stopped the war after 12 days. It was a mistake. I mean, you wouldn't actually say that, but I'm saying that. And you can have another 12 days, another 22 days, 32 days. I don't care. Just finish the government, finish the Revolutionary Guards, finish the Besiege, which is a paramilitary force, undermine every aspect of the government and the economy. And then at a certain stage, America and Israel will call for the 80% to rise up. But the 20% have to be disarmed, and I'm not talking about boots on the ground. So we have to disarm them basically from the air. And America's basically finished. America had one day of glory, and Israel will do the rest. Now, bear in mind, Israel gets 2/3 of its weapons from America. So think of America and Israel as a joint venture, with Israel doing almost all the work, but America behind the scenes with intelligence and with weapons is fueling that. And together we have to lock, stock, and barrel finish with this death cult. Otherwise, it'll go on another year. It'll go on another 1,400 years. And I think the world's not big enough to have an Islamo-Nazi death cult like Iran for another year.
There is this misconception that a lot of people carry that Islam is just another religion. And I've often said that Islam is not just a religion, it is also a system of governance, and to look at it just as a religion in and of itself and not as a system of governance is a misnomer that leads us to look at our enemy, radical Islam, in a position as if they can be the radicals can be liberalized. The ones who want to institutionalize the system of governance, as if they can be liberalized into just coalescing with the rest of Western society, and that's just not the case. I want to read you a quote, and I want to know if you agree with it as it applies to this. Of all the tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victim may be the most oppressive. It may be better and it may be better to live under robber barons than under omnipotent moral busybodies. The robber baron's cruelty may sometimes sleep his cupidity and or may at some point be satisfied, but those who torment us for our own good will torment us without end, for they do so with the approval of their own conscience. And I think this applies to those who try to create religious theocracies around the world, those who use who have a moral founding or ideological founding towards how they believe they should be running the government. Would you agree with that? That's C.S. Lewis.
I'm going to agree with it, and I'm going to say the same thing, but with slightly different words. Islam is a religion and a political movement together. And Islamic scholars tell me, not just me, but in the internet tell me that approximately 50% of the Quran deals with what Muslims should do within Islam. And 50% is what everybody else should do, what Christians, what Jews, and Hindus should do. So I separate, even though the Quran doesn't separate it, I separate the Quran as a religion, in other words, something I believe in for myself or family, and a political movement, which is the imposition of my ideology on somebody else. So putting it in American terms, if a Catholic walks down the street and sees a Protestant and says, you should really be a Catholic, I'll explain why in 15 seconds, otherwise I'm going to kill you. We're going to put that person in jail, right? And vice versa. And similarly with Jews and Christians. Now, by the way, we used to fight with each other over this, but over 2,000 years, we've learned to agree to disagree, which is a hallmark of Western civilization. In other words, we're all 95% the same, and there's no sense we should kill each other because we're 5% different. But the Muslims, Islamists don't believe that. The Islamists say, you have to be 100% like me or I'm going to kill you. And that's the imposition of an ideology on somebody else, and that is illegal, right? Just as if I said to a Democrat, you should become a Republican or I'm going to kill you, it's laughable. I mean, it's so sad, and it's laughable. So we have to basically criminalize Islamism, criminalize jihad, not Islam as a religion, because people have a right to a religion in America, as you know, but they have no right to impose their religion on somebody else. And that should be criminalized as it is in Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, and Egypt. So I say, look, if the Muslim countries criminalize Islamism, why can't the Christian countries?
I didn't know that. I didn't know that there are Muslim countries that criminalize Islamism. But I would like to play you.
They call it the Muslim Brotherhood. They call it the Muslim Brotherhood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Juan, do you have that clip from The Dictator? Oh, okay. There was a funny clip from the satirical movie The Dictator by Sacha Baron Cohen that came out a couple years back, where he's giving a speech in front of his country. I believe his name is Walid, and it's a caricature of an Iranian dictator, and he's standing up there going, "No, we want to use nuclear energy for economic and green energy enrichment and all that stuff." And he starts cracking up laughing. He goes, I just can't make it through it. He goes, and we promise not to kill Israel. And he starts laughing. And I'm like, this is what it's like. It's like we're watching this play out, and we're watching all these we're watching the media go, look, he just said he doesn't want to attack Israel. I don't know why you guys aren't taking him seriously. And I'm like, yeah, but then they do everything they possibly can to attack Israel in the United States. I can't take you seriously when out of one side of your mouth you say this to the rest of the world, and then when you talk to your own people, we're like, on Friday night we're going to attack Israel. Just watch.
Yes, it's in their blood for 1,400 years that Muslims have to kill Jews and Christians and Hindus.
Yep.
And it's sad. I mean, we, President Trump always says, I hate endless wars. And I say to myself, pretending I'm talking to President Trump, I say, I hate endless wars too. And the way to end them is to end them.
Yes.
Don't just, win. Hello. It's like watching an endless baseball game. Why don't you just win in the 18th inning? I don't care what inning it is. Win the game. So we have to win. And the reason why it keeps going on is whenever it gets tough, we, the West, in this example, America and Israel, we go, oh, well, that's enough. That's enough. No,
Yeah.
It's not enough until they surrender. We learned that lesson in history through World War II when not we, but our parents, our grandparents forced Germany and Japan to unconditional surrender, and we should force Iran to unconditional surrender too.
Well, I completely agree with you. I want to thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate you coming on, and I'm sure we are going to have you back on very soon because I don't think this issue is going away anytime soon. Again, everybody, this is Kenneth Abramowitz. He is the author of The Multi-Front War, Defending America from Political Islam, China, Russia, Pandemics, and Racial Strife. Go buy his book. Where can people buy his book, and where can people support you?
Yes, well, they should go to also my website, savethewest.com. They should sign up. There's a pop-up menu. They'll get my article that I write every 2 weeks. It's complimentary. Take advantage of it. And on that website, you'll see a link into Amazon, and they can buy the book. It's now in its 4th edition. I just published the 4th edition about 3 weeks ago, so it's very, very fresh. And just go right away to the last chapter. You can read the rest later, but that's what people should do. Read the last chapter and sign up for SaveTheWest.com.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for coming on. Everybody, again, this is Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast. We're going to go into the break. We'll have you back in just a couple of moments where our next guest will be Bill Walton, Common Sense CEO, up next. United We Stand, A Marine's Fight, written by Julian Acciard. I wrote this book to decipher through the tumultuous political dialogue and political gangbanging we see on both sides of the aisle between politicians, activists, influencers, and pundits, and get down to brass tacks solutions in order to save our republic. Again, United We Stand, A Marine's Fight, written by Julian Acciard. You can purchase the book on Amazon, Kindle, and Barnes & Noble.
Would you rather spend time with family and friends in the pool or at the barbecue rather than landscaping your yard? Well, Augusta Lawn Care is here to help you with all of your landscaping needs. Proudly serving southern New Hampshire, we handle everything. Weekly mowing, spring and fall cleanups, bush trimming, mulch installs, lawn treatments, aeration, dethatching, and even snow plowing and salting when the dreaded winter hits. Call Augusta Lawn Care today and let your yard be the best-looking yard on the block. Call 603-331-4768. Augusta Lawn Care, locally owned, professionally done. Call 603-331-4678 or visit us online at AugustaLawnCareServices.com/Londonderry. That's AugustaLawnCareServices.com/Londonderry.
New Hampshire Republican Governor Kelly Ayotte has been making a lot of noise about how she's funding education. The Republican budget she just signed provides more money for education than ever before. She even bragged the other day that New Hampshire is top 10 in the country when it comes to funding our children's education, as if giving money to school systems has anything to do with learning. If you look at the math, and if you got schooled in New Hampshire, the odds are good it's not your best subject. It's the exact opposite. The more money we throw at schools, the less kids learn. We're committed to wasting money on an experiment that failed, unless wasting money to drive parents to homeschool their kids was the goal. We prefer to pick on Democrats, lower hanging fruit and all that, but our rhetorical woodshed doesn't discriminate. If that sounds refreshing, you need to check us out. This is Steve McDonald for Granite Rock, and we'll keep shining the light on them for you.
This could be the moment we've been waiting for, the chance to feel alive.
Sometimes we forget we live in one of the most beautiful states in the country. This summer, vacation right here and discover your new.
This is where it all begins. This is where it all begins.
All right, welcome back to Blue Collar Intellectual Live. Make sure that you go to Ram TV Live and follow, click the link, like, subscribe, share, support, send it to your buddies. If you don't like it, keep your mouth shut. That's where we're at right now. We have a guest. It's going to be Bill Walton. As soon as we work out a couple technical difficulties, he's going to be right with us, and we're going to really get into this next subject, which is going to be U.S.-China officials meet in Sweden on trade truce deadlines. So this is going to be good because, the left, especially going into the midterms, right? Because we're having a lot of animosity. The left is attacking Trump, going, oh, the tariffs, China. And I'm sitting here going, we have gotten the gambit run on us for 20 freaking years, 30, 40 years now. What was it? It was the 90s when we thought, the million flowers bloom in China. So it was the 90s, so 40 years now, or around about there, 30 years. We can't keep this up. China is getting more powerful. They are expanding their influence globally. They are subverting the U.S. dollar. They're using every tactic in the book. Unrestricted warfare. Since 2014, they've been declared people's warfare against the United States. And we're still playing games as if these are just trade allies and trade rivals. No, we're not trade rivals. This isn't like Wally West and what's his name? The other Flash, Billy. Fucking, I just spaced. What was the original Flash's name? The second one was Wally West, and the first one was Barry Allen. Yeah, this isn't Barry Allen and Wally West in a race here, right? These aren't buddies and rivals with a little angst between them. No, this is one who wants to control the world and wants to subvert and destroy the United States because they're communists, and communist countries cannot exist with a perfect example of every reason why communism is bad existing and flourishing on the other side of the globe, especially when they're major competitors and trade partners. And now in the information age, you don't have the ability to really siphon off your population from the information like you used to be like, oh no, America is horrible. They hate their citizens. They're such evil people. Yeah, you can't do that anymore. So now you have to get rid of those countries. You have to get rid of those free countries in order for your communist dystopia to survive. But, I prefer the more fun conversation that we were having during the break about how we were having this great conversation during the break about how, like, My wife had a friend at one point.
Is this a family station?
Who wanted to play.
That's why it was a break.
She's like, yeah, it was during the break. She's like, let's drink a couple bottles of wine and watch horror movies and play with a Ouija board. I was like, no, the hell you not. Not in my house. Black people don't do that shit. We're not talking to dead people. All right, there's not a single person on earth, living or past, that I care about enough that I want to talk to them after they passed. I don't know what you've been doing after you passed. I don't know I don't know which place you went, whether it went to heaven or hell, and I'm not taking a chance by bringing you back to figure it out. Like, it just baffles me. I was like, that's some white people shit.
Am I remembering right that about 10 or 15 years ago there was an exchange on The View between Whoopi Goldberg and I think it was Barbara Walters? It was kind of like this. It's like, wait, you talked to spirits in the great beyond, and Whoopi was all confused.
Yeah. Like, I remember I was doing private security and I met that lady, the medium, Tracy Caputo or whatever, and I was like, you know what? I was joking with my coworkers. We're standing at the doors and stuff, and I was like, you know, we don't see in here. And they're like, what? I was like, you don't see a single black person in this whole damn room. You see a lot of cat ladies and a lot of like tweeners and shit all stand there like, let's talk to the spirits from the desk. I'm like, no. Like, I'm even cool with like the old school slasher flicks, right? I don't care what you say. I can outrun Jason. I can outrun Michael Myers. I don't have to run faster than, I don't even have to outrun them. I just got to outrun you. So it's like, I can survive this horror movie, okay? Because when the white boy says we need to split up, I'm going to say, no, Billy, you need to shut the hell up. Ain't nobody splitting up. We have the numbers advantage right now. And besides, if we all end up having to run, I can outrun the 5 of you. Yeah. And I will
Keep
survive.
around us for protection.
Yeah, we're not investigating noises off in the darkness. We're not going looking for people who went missing. No, so-and-so hasn't checked in 30 minutes. So-and-so is dead. They're gone. They're not coming
Worst
back.
case scenario immediately.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, what are the rules of the horror movies, right? So you're going to rule the first people who get naked and have sex, they're gone. Right? They die before the black person does. It's the hoe and the jock. They die first.
Usually.
It's like, who are the last ones to survive? The outcast and the virgin.
The one possible exception to that was Jessica Biel in the remake of the reboot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, yeah.
She stayed alive because she was at her absolute apex at the time, and they couldn't afford to kill her off.
No.
For the box office.
There's a little bit of plot armor in being a perfect celebrity like that.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting here going like, I'm not chancing it. If a bunch of weird stuff happens, the wall starts melting, there's a little Chinese boy in the elevator that meows at you, and like a chick crawls out of the TV and stuff. Not only, I am so against all this haunting, talking to spirits and dead people shit. I'm going to become the outcast and the virgin immediately. I'm going to baptize myself. I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to paint my nails black. I'm going to start singing friggin' My Chemical Romance and shit. I'm going to be like, look, all y'all are going before me, and I'm outrunning all of you. I'm not taking a chance. But that whole Ouija board shit, like, my daughter, we took her to a book fair. She's like, Daddy, can I get a spell book? I was like, No. She goes, why not? It's just a toy thing. I go, it's not a toy thing you're allowing in the house. No. If you brought a voodoo doll in the house, that shit would be out of the house too. It's gone. Those are the only black people who do that crazy shit. And those black people, you notice they're crazy. They're like legit crazy. You walk past them on the street and you're like, you're nuts.
Did you see the thing with Annabelle? You know Annabelle the movie?
Oh, yeah.
There was a gentleman who, I don't know if he brought it to his house or he was doing something with the Annabelle doll, but he actually ended up dying. There's an article about it recently. I don't know if the thing probably killed him. It probably like came alive and killed him.
I'm not taking any chances. No chances with any of that creepy stuff.
Mysteriously dead, and he was like, some of that stuff is pretty wacky, but...
All right. So it looks like we got our guest again. This is Bill Walton, the Common Sense CEO, host of The Bill Walton Show, formerly served on action and landing teams for Donald Trump in 2016. The landing and action teams that he landed on were for federal and economic agencies, the Treasury, the IRS, Commerce, USTR, SEC, Social Security, FCC. Okay, that's not FEC, FCC. I got that wrong. And CEO of Allied Capital Corporation. Thank you for coming on the show, sir. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. We had a little trouble. I was on another station. Anyway, all those alphabet soup agencies you mentioned, nobody can remember them, and most of them should disappear.
I agree.
That's a story. Right. I didn't know too much about some of them, and when we wrote up the plans for them, I was stunned. Why are we doing this? We should get out of the business of this type of regulation.
I gotta completely agree
very
with
eye-opening.
you.
Yeah.
I gotta completely agree with you. That's one of the most disconcerting and angering things that I've experienced as a conservative my entire life. Again, I've never been red pilled, so I've been over here my whole life, and I am wondering. Not once has the CIA, FBI, FCC, FCC, FEC, the Fed, or any other agency, the Department of Education, the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Energy, the EPA, none of it has ever been effective or accomplished a damn thing. They're universally populated by leftists, and yet for some reason Republicans think that we can put a new guy in charge, and all of a sudden all the rot of this cancer that exists in our government is just going to disappear overnight. It's just going to be gone because we put a new face on it.
Well, the problem, of course, you put your finger on the problem. I mean, the political appointees come and go in all these agencies, and if Trump gets 4,000 appointments, well, I don't know how many people work in the government. I've lost track, hundreds and hundreds of thousands, and so you put somebody in. I know that you take the case of Voice of America, that agency. My friend Michael Pack was appointed head of that, and out of an agency of like 3,000 or 4,000 people, there were 2 political appointees. And when he walked in trying to turn our media message around to something that really celebrated America as opposed to denigrated America, he was met with vast opposition from almost everybody in the building. And you multiply that times every agency, and that's basically what happens when you supposedly take over the government. You don't really take it over. They just let you sit in the big office and pretend you're in charge.
Isn't that the problem with DC as a whole, though? Because that is what I've seen administration after administration. Doesn't matter who goes there. There is this air within the bureaucratic government, the bureaucratic state, the forced state, whatever you want to call it, where they look at the congressman and they look at the political appointees and the president themselves as transient. They're there permanently. They will be there. They were there before you. They will be there after you. Their effect will be there long after because their proteges will take their place. So they can just wait you out. So, we have to play nice for 4 years, but after 4 years, you're gone. And then I see that transfer over into Congress, where Congress will also wait out the president and political appointees as well. And there's this festering cancer that exists in D.C.
Well, that's the deep state. That's the swamp. The permanent bureaucracy. We've got all sorts of names for it, but that's essentially it. They're there. The political people come and go, and they're going to be there after the last batch is gone. But sometimes they hang on for the people that they support. For example, a lot of the people that Obama had in the administration, not just the career bureaucrats, but also appointees, hung on for Biden. And so truly people talk about Biden was Obama 3, and that's exactly what happened. And everybody was still there. And that's what Trump is and his team is coming into. Fortunately, you mentioned I worked in the last transition, 2016, 2017. Trump was vastly more prepared this time. I mean, he knew exactly what he was getting into, and he'd assembled the right people to go in as appointees. And I think he appointed his cabinet secretaries in record time. And he had Russ Vought over at OMB lined up with executive orders, and thoroughly lawyered, thoroughly vetted by bureaucrats who knew where the pitfalls were and how to make things actually happen. And I think that's why Trump got off to such a quick start, was that he knew what the deep state was really all about. And he's making progress. And now this summer we're trying to get Congress to stay on the job to appoint several thousand people that are required Senate approval, and so Trump can get the rest of his team in place. It's a circus here.
I think it's going to be a never-ending cycle. I'm not going to lie, I'm still pessimistic because, like we just went over, Congress or the system manages to outlast everybody. Trump only has until 2028, and we don't know who is going to be the next person to take that seat. But the way Republicans operate, we fight over we will agree on 9 out of 10 things, and we'll kill each other over the one thing we disagree on before we work on the 9 things that we do agree on. Whereas the Democrats do the exact opposite. Only up until right now are they finally starting to have the infighting to the same level or greater that the Republicans typically do. And this is our grand opportunity, right? Because they're not actually proposing anything to solve how the average American feels about their wallet, the border, foreign policy, jobs, manufacturing, even the culture wars that are going on in the United States. What do you think is the next step? And then I would like you to go into your position on China and this trade dynamic, because I know this is going to be a long-term thing that we're going to be dealing with, and we've been fighting China for decades at this point.
Well, there's a lot to dig into there. I guess I count myself as somewhat optimistic in that at least we know what we're doing, and we've got many more qualified people this time. The thing than we did last time, and the thing I like is that Joe Biden walked in and for day one said we've got a whole of government DEI agenda, and every agency is supposed to be implementing, for example, critical race theory, and the other piece that they put in place was climate change agenda. Everything is supposed to be aimed at developing green energy. And if you look at, this time around I wrote the Treasury plan for Project 2025. And my Treasury chapter noted that the Treasury Department under Janet Yellen didn't have anything about a strong dollar, but it did have right at the top of the list bringing green energy agenda about, and all the other things that are part of the left's world, and nothing about finance. That was true in every single agency. Now, what Trump has done, and he did it this week or last week with, for example, with his AI action plan, is the first thing he said is we're going to implement a technology that's going to improve things. We're going to use AI to do a lot of things to make government, actually reduce it, but then we'll also be making it work better. And he explicitly mentioned we're going to be taking the DEI agendas out of what's going on in technology in these agencies, and also the green energy piece. And if we're going to have this so-called AI revolution, it's going to need a lot of power. And he's got the right people in place at Energy Commerce and the EPA. So I think we'd be optimistic. But you're right, if we don't get him. Donald Trump is one of a kind, and you can just see it when he's over in Sweden right now. He's not in Sweden, but when he's in London talking with the prime minister there, who just really looks weak standing next to Donald Trump. And the fact is, they all do. I mean, Donald commands a room when he walks in. He's a real leader, and whether we have somebody waiting in the wings that's going to come on and keep up the momentum, which I think he'll bring about, or the changes he'll bring about, we're going to have to wait and see. But I think the thing you and I need to worry about is what happens in the 2026 midterms, because if we don't keep the House, God help us. If we don't keep the House, they're going to pull out the impeachment papers, on day one, and we're going to be spending the whole second 2 years of Trump's term hearing about initiative and listening to Schiff the whole time, which I may go into hiding if that happens. I don't know. It's going to be rough it's going to be tough to take.
If we don't win the 2026 election, I think it's extremely dire, not just because the left is going to be coming out against Trump, but you're going to see the right start to come out against Trump as well, because Trump has brought a wave of America First politicians into office, but you will also see there is also a wave of people who, like every election, say the right thing, when they're standing up at the podium, But then you watch their votes and you watch the way they act, and as soon as they get the chance to walk away from Trump, they're going to do it. They'll throw him under the bus to preserve their political careers. And if we don't win the 26th election, if we don't have keep the majority or have a sizable majority in the next, grow it, and we don't keep growing the new demographics that Trump brought in this election cycle and set ourselves up for a bigger win in 2028, you're going to see some of those Republicans that were wishy-washy, that rode the wave, start to step away from Trump as well. And they're going to allow the Democrats to do their impeachments. They're going to start to be silent, and they're going to start to allow the attacks to come from within as well. And that's going to subvert the America First movement. And then that's going to make the average voter who came in to the fray start to step away and feel like they're not being heard, and everything that we just fought for is null and void. Do you see that happening?
I think you're exactly right. And here's what's working against us is that the reality is that every congressman, I won't say every, but most all congressmen and senators don't see their primary job as America First. They see their primary job as bringing bacon home to their district or their state. And you can see that working in the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, which is really the Green New Deal. What they did in that was absolutely evil and pernicious, the way they allocated a lot of subsidies to the red states.
Yep.
So that the red state senators and congressmen would be benefiting financially from the climate agenda. So that if we wanted to start going back to real energy like natural gas or even petroleum, that sort of thing, some energy that works, they'd be reluctant because they're getting windmill and battery and solar subsidies, and that they know how to operate on Republicans in town to make them feel like they've got to go along, or their constituencies aren't going to be getting what they got for them last time.
That's been the main problem in DC is once free ice cream is on the table, you're the bad guy when you take away the free ice cream, right? And the Democrats know once they hand a bunch of money to red states, who typically operate on shoestring budgets, not because they're fiscally irresponsible or anything like that. I mean, there is a lot of fiscal irresponsibility in literally every state in the country. So I'm not going to say the Republicans are perfect, because I've watched Republicans administration after administration match Democrats dollar for dollar, even while saying all the right things but doing the wrong things. But I will say what I'm seeing is these Republican states getting hooked on the money from the Democrats, like you just said. And unlike, New York, Chicago, Boston, LA, San Diego, Houston, where you have all this, the Democrats are entrenched in these areas. These areas economically are being propped up by having long histories of economic development in urban development, manufacturing, industry, so on and so forth. And they're starting to slide so far down so fast. But the Democrats are commonly using this trope that because they have high GDPs coming out of these areas, that excuses the death, poverty, and destruction that reigns supreme in these areas. And then they'll point to Republicans and they'll be like, well, we make money for the government and you guys receive the money. So what are you complaining about? And I'm sitting here going, we need to come up with a better argument for this. What do you think we should say?
Well, the good news is that the economic piece of that's changing pretty fast. I mean, most of there's big population movements into the red states and businesses moving to the red states. And Miami's looking to be the next financial capital of the world. I mean, a lot of the people have moved. Ken Griffin moved from Chicago, and a lot of the other big funds have moved, venture funds have moved to Austin, Texas, et cetera. So the financial power is moving towards our side. So I think that's a good development. I don't see that changing.
So our answer should be that we're the land of opportunity and you're the land of what was.
You bet. I love that. I like that.
Hey, you know what?
You guys are last century. We're this century.
Well, this is Bill Walton, host of the Bill Walton Show. I want to thank you for coming on. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I can't wait to have you back on in the future. I'm absolutely sure we're going to need to dig into, especially everything going on with China and the trade the trade truce and everything.
We need to talk about China, trade, AI, what's happening with EU and Russia. There are a lot of very interesting stories there.
Maybe we can have you on next week to go a little bit deeper into AI and China and the trade truce and stuff, because I see this as something that is definitely not going away. It is only going to get worse. And the AI dynamic is something that a lot of people pontificate about, but very few people actually understand.
I think I actually understand it, but I don't hold me to that.
No, I'm talking
I
more.
can actually help us get there, because I was so biased against all the tech companies, and should be, because of the censorship. But I think one of the things that's happened with Trump is we brought a number of tech people into town that are on our side, and so I think there's some good things we can make happen there, and it's not all the bleak censorship we faced during Biden.
Do you mind if we hold you over for another 5 minutes? Because I feel like we didn't get the full juice out of you due to technical difficulties. Is that okay?
My issue is my battery's running low. Can you give me 1 second here? Let me get it.
No problem.
Can we cut to commercial quickly? I'll be right back.
Yeah, we'll give you a minute. All right, again, this is Bill Walton, host of the Bill Walton Show. We're going to hold him over for just a few minutes. I know we had technical difficulties and we couldn't get him to you sooner to get you the full segment, but I want to make sure that you get all the information that you should. And while we had enough discussions about the rot in D.C. and how good the Trump administration is doing at trying to replace the people, the bureaucracy, the fourth state, the deep state, however you want to call it, there's so much information that we need to get into with U.S., China, Sweden, the trade deadlines, the AI, and all the regulations that we need to have and how we need to go about this. So we'll give you a quick break, maybe 60 seconds, and we'll be right back.
New Hampshire Republican Governor Kelly Ayotte has been making a lot of noise about how she's funding education. The Republican budget she just signed provides more money for education than ever before. She even bragged the other day that New Hampshire is top 10 in the country when it comes to funding our children's education, as if giving money to school systems has anything to do with learning. If you look at the math, and if you got schooled in New Hampshire, the odds are good it's not your best subject. It's the exact opposite. The more money we throw at schools, the less kids learn. We're committed to wasting money on an experiment that failed, unless wasting money to drive parents to homeschool their kids was the goal. We prefer to pick on Democrats, lower hanging fruit and all that, but our rhetorical woodshed doesn't discriminate. If that sounds refreshing, you need to check us out. This is Steve McDonald for Granite Rock, and we'll keep shining the light on them for you.
Welcome back to Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast. This is the Ram TV live family, and we have on Bill Walton, host of the Bill Walton Show, and we're going to be getting into the stuff that we didn't get to get into quite as much in the last segment, or we're going to take another 5 minutes so we can dig into China, AI, and some of the stuff that the Trump administration has coming up. Thank you for holding over a little bit longer.
Delighted. A lot to get into.
So what are you seeing with the dealings with China as this trade deadline looms?
Well, we've got Scott Bessent over in Sweden talking with the top Chinese people about making a deal. You know, Trump slapped on the 145% export tariff or import tariff, and China retaliated with 125%, and then they both put their guns down briefly and gave it a 90-day breathing room to try to work out a deal, and that's where they are right now. You know, the problem with China is that, in a way, I think China is, well, not in a way, China's vastly overplayed its hand. I think they've got the second largest economy in the world, but they're deeply intertwined with the United States and technology. We're a lot of big markets for them, but we're also responsible for a lot of their own, a lot of the technology they use. And so it's very hard for them to be that tough with this without also, hurting themselves. And while China has been intransigent in this, Trump's been making trade deals with every other single country in the world, it seems. Just closed a deal with Japan this weekend. And, he's got Japan, I think Japan has agreed to buy $600 billion worth of stuff from us. And that's a pretty big number. And then he also closed a deal with the EU, I think it was just on Sunday, and they've agreed to purchase, I think, $500 billion of petroleum or natural gas from us, and so we've created a market for that, and that before they were buying that from Russia, so that will also have the effect of tying up funding for Russia's war on Ukraine. So Trump is playing all these different games all at once, and increasingly China's getting isolated. And it'll be interesting to see who, there'll be a lot of blood spilled in that room, but I think he could probably come up with a fairly decent deal.
I never discount Trump's ability to come up with a good deal or his ability to negotiate, because he uses I often say that foreign policy and trade negotiations are equivalent of a measuring contest between men. When I draw the red line in the sand and I tell you not to cross it, it really comes down to whether I follow up on whatever my threat was when I say or else. And Trump has made it very clear in every aspect of his presidency, in his political career, that when he says or else, he absolutely means or else, and there will be consequences for what he says. So people are able to take him at face value, as opposed to what we see coming out of DC on a regular basis, where Biden would get up in front of the microphone and he would talk real big, and then he'd go into a meeting purring like a pussycat. And whereas Trump, when he'll talk nice about the people he's about to go into a negotiation with, to the degree that they talk nice about him, and then they'll go into the negotiation in some sort of good faith manner. He'll be tough behind closed doors, and then he'll come out and he'll be like, yeah, we had a great conversation. We talked about this. We talked about that. We even talked about our grandkids and stuff, and we were jovial, and we came to a good deal that I think will benefit all sides. And I think that's a mark of a good businessman.
Well, we've got some things that are non-economic. I mean, the fentanyl crisis is real.
Yes.
And China's behind that. They're driving that 100% and using middlemen in Central America, but it's a China operation. And then we've also got the issue of forced organ harvesting of the Uyghurs, and that's also real. And probably a third of our textile goods come from that region. And so we ought to care about that. And so they're non-economic things. I think Trump is focused on that, and there's a lot of things we can re-engineer that he has on the table. And President Xi of China has been pushing this very hard to go back to the totalitarian, let me try the big word, the days of Mao, and the Cultural Revolution. He's hardcore. And he's killed a lot of the economic spirit in China, so their economy is in tough shape. And so I think Trump, as he puts it, has a number of cards to play.
I think another thing that Trump is working on to one degree or another, and I've seen him make multiple moves in this direction. And I am a huge fan of the American auto industry and raw Americana. I wrote an article a couple months back explaining how our doubling down on EPA requirements and green energy, forcing the auto industry, the American auto industry, to go green. Domestically, we have everything we need to manufacture gas-powered engines, which is why we're able to manufacture gas-powered engines as cheap as we do. Whereas domestically, China has the ability to manufacture everything they need for an electric car at cut-rate prices because they have all of it domestically. When we subvert our own gas-powered engines and manufacturing here in the United States, we actually gave an avenue for China to get inroads into the United States and further subvert through their investment in ESG scores in all of these companies. And you're watching all of the American auto industry being bought up by foreign companies. And as we cut the EPA regulations and we cut all these green energy initiatives and requirements and stuff, now you can start seeing the American auto industry start to rebuild and get back to the beauty that it was before, where we made cars that the rest of the world would crawl over broken glass to get a piece of.
Well, we talked about K Street. We talked about the deep state and K Street lobbying. I mean, what people don't see or hear much about is China is one of the big lobbyists in the Inflation Reduction Act, trying to get us to mandate EVs and mandate all these things that China happens to make, and so they're going to get us to shut down what we can do very well in order to buy what only they can do. And we've seen this playbook before. They'll start out with a cheap price, and they'll drive all the foreign manufacturers out of business, and then they'll raise prices, and all of a sudden they control the market as a monopolist. We know that playbook. We know what they're doing, and so we can stop it. I think, I think we've got some smart guys. I know in the cabinet positions and other positions in government who understand this, and we're not going to let it happen.
And for people who question what I'm saying, I saw a study come out a couple months back that said even if we had put a 200% tariff on electric cars coming out of China, they're producing an electric car for under $9,000, which means that we could put a 200% tariff on them. They could import that car over here to the United States and still sell it cheaper than the cheapest cars being produced in the United States, thanks to the EV mandates and all this extra stuff. Because if you notice, all the electric cars are not selling in the United States. The gas-powered ones are. So when they're not selling these electric cars to the degree that they should, and they're spending more money, it's actually costing them money to produce them. That extra money that they're not getting off of those is being tacked on to the gas-powered vehicles. It's being tacked on to the other prices because they got to make the money up somewhere.
Well, two big picture items. One is that we've been fighting this so-called carbon demon, and I believe the EPA is coming out this week with a pronouncement that CO2, which is the dreaded carbon dioxide, is not a pollutant. In fact, there are a lot of people, scientists I know, and I agree, is that it's beneficial to mankind, beneficial to humans, and so that could change the playing field dramatically. And the other second point is I've lost, but just stay tuned. I think the CO2 endangerment finding, which they're going to reverse, and was really the basis for all of this drive for electrical vehicles, is going away. Now, the other point I did come back and make is people have this notion that electricity is somehow greener than say natural gas. It's not. I mean, people look at all that goes into making electricity, and all the mining that goes into developing the windmills and the solar panels and the batteries and that sort of thing. It's the most environmentally destructive manufacturing process you can imagine. So they think they're being good by going with electric, and they're just really showing how ignorant they are about how these things are made.
Yeah, if you want something that's absolutely horrifying, look what happens to a place after they start they open up a lithium mine. After they start opening up a lithium mine, you can open up a steel mine or a copper mine in the middle of a forest without destroying the rest of the forest. You open up, and same with drilling for oil. You open up a lithium mine, everything around it for miles dies. The water supply dies, the plant life dies, the animal life dies, and the people eventually get sick and die themselves, because lithium poisoning is about as painful as you can possibly go. I've seen the pictures, and it's absolutely disgusting. I want to thank you for coming on the show. I absolutely loved having you on. We're definitely going to have you on again, because we have so much to dig into, and like I said, I don't think it's ever going to end. I think it's going to be, especially as AI ramps up. I'd like to dedicate an entire episode to talking about AI and the AI revolution and what the Trump administration is doing that. So we're going to get a hold of you and try to have you back on in a couple weeks.
Enjoy the conversation. It's great. You know your stuff, which is really great.
I
I've
try.
done a few of these before, and if you're in a league of your own, actually.
I try. Thank you, everybody. This is Bill Walton, host of the Bill Walton Show. Where can people find you?
At the BillWaltonShow.com, and also on YouTube and Rumble and Substack and all the major audio podcast platforms. And then I'm taking a sabbatical for a couple of months just to sort of do a little. But we've got 250 shows on the website: science, technology, money, culture, and they're all pretty much evergreen. So there's a lot there to look at, and I'll be back in business probably in about 4 to 6 weeks.
All right. Thank you for coming on, sir.
Great.
Everybody, this is your episode of the Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast. I think we had a great show today. What do you guys think, Mike, Andy?
Most definitely. Oh, yeah.
Like a lot of information, right?
A lot of stuff, yeah.
I think we covered a lot of bases. We got some funny parts. We had some lively parts. We had some very informational parts. Make sure you tune in next week because we're going to bring it to you again. More local grassroots activism. We're going to get into more stuff happening in the federal government, more stuff happening locally. This is your destination for entertainment in news, Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast, Ram TV Live. Tune in next week. Up next is Granite State Live, then Shadow Band. See you next week. United We Stand, A Marine's Fight. Written by Julian Acciard. I wrote this book to decipher through the tumultuous political dialogue and political gangbanging we see on both sides of the aisle between politicians, activists, influencers, and pundits, and get down to brass tacks solutions in order to save our republic. Again, United We Stand, A Marine's Fight, written by Julian Acciard. You can purchase the book on Amazon, Kindle, and Barnes & Noble.